Hello, everyone. Happy Fed Speak Friday. How many Fed speakers can you fit in a Friday? That's the good question. Good morning to you, Patrick. Good morning, John. Good morning, Connor. Happy Capital Preservation Day. Yes, don't want to do anything silly, especially with we still got stuff coming out about tariffs and it's maybe 80% is the right tariff level for China. Not gonna make a big difference between 145 and 80, by the way. Uh, Good morning, PMG. Good morning, Jacob. Hey, glad you could tune in, Sterling. No problem. I appreciate that you get to be here. Good morning, Martinez. Good morning, Anissa. Many trade deals. Oh, of course, they're all good and great ones. Well, you think they're going to be lousy if they're coming from Trump? Oh boy. Yeah. Does it until they like start calling people names? Is everything is good or great or the best ever? Good morning, David. 24 hours close to being resolved. The whole thing's going to revolve around China. Hello, Charles. All right. Good morning, Tony. We got lots of Fed speak. Today, so just be on your toes. And you got a lot coming out of the administration today. You got the Chinese talking in Switzerland, so that's gonna make a difference. So just be on your toes today. That's all I can say. Other than that, we've got a pretty positive market environment going in this morning. Energy continued to grind higher. Tesla invalidated the potential double bottom, so keep that in mind. Other than that, every mega cap is up except Google. Groups, again, let's see if consumer defensive turn. Everything's positive now. Everything's positive with energy and technology leading the way. Fed Watch has a 80% probability for another pause, so we'll have to see if that changes after all the Fed speak today. Fear and greed still back to greed mode, and 34.75 Schiller PE. In terms of earnings, we had Coinbase, Cloudflare, Sound on DraftKings yesterday, but nothing was really market shaking, and nothing this morning that I need to waste my time on. So that's done. I don't know. You haven't been keeping it as close to target as possible. You said it was 2%. It hasn't been back to 2%. Oh, what is it? Clown show Friday. All right. We do have potential double tops in the S&P and the NASDAQ. It needs to follow through with the daily close. So any break, if we were to break below 55.96, needs to follow through with the daily close. And that would be, if that started happening, I watch for a slightly bigger pullback beyond the daily rotation zone, closer to the prior key breakout level and major support. Other than that, still focusing on grinding higher prices with daily cycles down and turning back up. And weekly cycles still looks like we could be topping. Could be topping into next week. So that is about it. The double would be off the table if we passed 57.57. That's the number to keep in mind for the double. Other than that, if you look at the shorter term chart, on any pullback, the key resistance is now right here. I didn't update the line yet. 57.15. Key support is 56.65. Breaking out about 57.15. 57.40 is a harmonic, and yesterday's spike high, which was 57.41. So that's the key area, then 57.57. And that's it. And you can see I don't really need to put in these levels right here because you can see what would trigger the potential double top. So there you go. Good morning, Royal Palms. I think a lot of people are doom spending. Where people, wow, it's the F it principle. NASDAQ also potential double top would need to follow through with a close below 19,678.75 to trigger. Again, then I'd watch for the bigger pullback. Other than that, the key areas, let me just drop to a shorter chart. Key support for me is this 20,055. The key resistance still, which we're trading against right now, is right around this 2255. If we break above that, I'm watching for yesterday's high area between 20,337 to 20,351. What invalidates the double if it gets above 20,426. So that's all it is. Other than that, I'm still focused on grinding higher prices unless something shocking comes out from the administration and we go down and trigger that double. Other than that, if we did trade back down, I'd be watching the key support levels. Like the key support levels will be 2055, and then I'd be looking right around 19,800 and then possibly triggering the double. But until the double triggers, I will look to trade off of key support. Dow does not have a double. No double in the Dow. On the rally would be yesterday's high, and then if we break above that, you got 42,032 on a closing basis. Still in the rollover zone for the Dow. Keep that in mind. All right, the key support is coming in around 41,375. The Russell, the key support hasn't changed since yesterday. It was a little resistance. Now it's support 2025. You can see still going to use these harmonics, the reverse harmonics. By the way, here's a little thing. If it touches the harmonic exact, we have 2048.5. We got to 2048.5. It is still okay. The double, you'd have to trade through that level to invalidate the double, not right to it. Just things to add to your notes. So the double is still intact, but barely. Okay? Just wanted to clarify that. Oops, did not want to move that one. Want to move, where's, I have to get that line out some other, there we go. So that's where we sit right there. There you go. Sterling put in Coinbase was a miss. I don't remember what you're asking me to remember 2 days ago at this point. But then what's the point? I don't even know what the Fed's doing. Again, don't know.
What do you want to be reminded about?
I don't want to be reminded of anything, Siri. I didn't talk to you. I don't know what you were thinking, Siri, just because I criticized the Fed. And that's not because they're not lowering rates. It's just a Fed clown show, period. By the way, the double bottom's still in place for the VIX. That doesn't mean it might ever trigger. If it does continue lower, looking at 20 is the next key support level. The DAX just continuing to grind higher, trying to break to a new high. Yesterday was not. Today might close at a new recent high. So going to keep an eye on that. And again, the next major harmonic is just above 24,000. The yields trying to climb, keeping an eye on this, punching up against key resistance again. So going to be keeping a close eye on that. Is this you got a little mini double within a bigger double. Is this a valid bigger double? Let's just check it. Let's check everything because I could be right. That's a completely valid double. Let's make sure it's right on the other side though too. Yep, still barely intact. So that's the only thing that would shift me to dropping yields, is if that does not invalidate and trigger. Other than that, going to be watching how it behaves and possibly try to break above that 4.38 level still. Dollar index, little pullback today, but triggering the very sloppy head and shoulders and above the rotation zone for the first time in a while, since the first time back in end of February. So this looks like it's going to turn into a channeling inverse head and shoulders, but I'm going to be watching, especially if any positive news come out of this China-Switzerland talks, because we could see a little short-term pop in the strengthening dollar I've been watching for. Even back to the daily rotation zone, which is now at the first target on that inverse head and shoulders. Okay, we hit the next target area, which I discussed earlier this week. And we're still against the rotation zone. So this was another area that I was looking at to definitely raise a stop and take something off the table. We're getting the cycle tops again. The only thing that would change me, again, short term more bullish would be a close above 61.28. Other than that, I'll be watching for now another pullback if the rotation zone holds also, and they're in the same place virtually. Gold, little pullback to the rotation zone, and looks like it's rotating up. We do have the double top in place. That's about it. Coming back to also very key support. There's a lot of buying pressure around this 32.85 area and slightly higher. 32.85 to 32.95 has been some buying pressure. Besides this little break below it, that's what I'm keeping an eye on. So let's see how today finishes, but nothing to report there. By the way, copper, I'm keeping a close eye on this trend line. Close eye on that trend line to see if we're finishing an ABC little correction move. Yen, nothing to talk about here. We're, again, channeling, but it's really sloppy patterns in here against very key resistance. So I'm going to watch on this pullback to see if it can hold key support. Euro broke down yesterday above the double-shouldered messy thing. Still watching for a pullback in the euro, especially to that first target at the weekly rotation zone. Spiders. Again, you do have the technical double top in place on the spiders. So that would be for the bigger pullback. Other than that, the target, if we do grind higher, 573.70 to 574, and then 579 to 580. That's about it for that. If it did manage to something disastrous happen, there's still a little mini gap between Wednesday and Thursday back to 561.15. The Qs also little potential double top there. Again, if it can manage to break above, the next minor target right here is the close back from the 25th of March, which is 493.46, and the next major target is 501.98, and then 506.20. Other than that, Bitcoin, big move up almost to 87.5. Remember, it did close above the 62.5, shifting the probabilities, a little pullback in the rotation zone. This triggered a %B buy right there, and now we've followed through. %B buys in a rotation zone are, from my perspective, are fantastic signals. Fantastic signals. If they're against the rotation zone, you have to trade them very nimbly. If they're with the rotation zone, there are fantastic signals. Something to keep an eye on or do some your own research. Tesla, again, went into triple top territory, so you have the double top off the table, but there's still no trade here in consolidation from my perspective. What else? Hello, Christoph. How goes gold typically perform in stagflation? It depends how big a recessionary aspect it is, because if it turns into stickier prices, and remember, you can still get disinflation it just depends in a stagflation environment, but you might not have outright deflation. So it really depends on how deep the recession is. And if it's a really deep, if the economy starts falling off a cliff, you can expect gold to actually pull back too, because it gets sold to lock in gains. Cloudflare was a misbeat. But is it gapping up? Yeah. Again, have you guys seen what the 0-day options are like? I think they were above 70% of all option volume yesterday, if not close to above that. That's insane. This has turned into a gambler's market. A gambler's market. I'm just wondering with this, I'm just curious with Cloudflare gapping up. Just curious here. This is completely just out of curiosity on my part. Oh, come on. where this would potentially take us. Huh, interesting. All right, we'll have to see. I mean, gapping up to 137. Next key target from the inverse, not a fantastic head and shoulders, but keep an eye on it just from a. I'd be looking at 144.39 actually. I just wanted to see how the targets lined up. And they're pretty close to harmonics. All right. Oh, let's take a peek at Meta. Little pullback yesterday, but again, we've triggered the double. Key rising rotation zone is very key. And I already talked about this with the lowered first target. But other than that, not much to talk about. Not much to talk about. So I'm going to run early today. I got a lot to do today. And then, and it's a Friday, so don't do anything silly. And there's going to be stuff coming out still about the trade talks. And you're going to have the whole mid-morning release from the White House, and you got a lot of Fed speak, so just don't do anything crazy after a little nice 3-day rotation back up. So I want to see how it closes in relation to last Friday. So again, we had the dip, and here's the weekly bar. I want to see if we close higher or lower than last Friday. That's another thing I'm keeping an eye on going forward then to evaluate Sunday night. With that, I shall talk to everyone later. I hope everyone has a fantastic, fantastic weekend, and I'll see you all next week. Enjoy Fed Speak Friday. Bye for now.